Hey guys, Joff here. So this is a little presentation that I put together and it's called the on-off switch. So I thought this would be very helpful for you getting the right mindset going into your training. Remember, lifestyle reset is all about finding habits and changing things in your life that you'll be able to sustain for a lifetime. So for me as a coach, it'll be easy to, you come to me and say you want to lose weight, you want to get fitter, healthier. I can tell you to don't eat this, don't eat that, do this, drink that, that kind of stuff, which would probably work, but at the end of the day, it's not always sustainable. So I thought this was a nice analogy of how you can kind of think about this. Now, the on-off switch. So I'll go through it. So what I like to class is on in the switch is when you're massively on it. Maybe you've signed up something like the program I have here, the lifestyle reset. You have this real high motivation to go and do something. It means a lot to you. Your goals are high. You've set them. So you can see from there, from the pictures I've put, you start to increase your training, crazy load. You start looking at, diets. You can go on juicing and keto and all that kind of stuff. You go all in on logging your food. You're making sure you're moving enough, 20,000 steps. You go totally no social life. You say no to drinks. You say no to going out and partying and stuff that you normally like to do. No alcohol is one that people cut out quite a lot. And you look into things like supplements. You're just completely on it. That's fine. Okay, so that's on. And what we get from being in the on stage is you will get the quickest and best results. All right. So that's one of the advantages. But one of the disadvantages is you're likely to burn out quickly if you do not manage it properly. So if you've just kind of jumped into this training regime, you've jumped onto this new diet, you're not fully understanding it, you haven't maybe done any research on it, it's going to be hard to sustain that over a long time. So your goal, I put underneath here, your goals need to be big enough to sustain. So, think about your motivation. If your motivation is very, very high, maybe you're getting married in 12 weeks, or you've got something that really means a lot to you, then it's going to be easier. But if it's just, after the weekend, you just feel like you wanted to go on a little bit of a detox, it's going to be hard to sustain stuff that's on that kind of like on switch. You can waste a lot of money on this zone. A lot of companies out there will prey on people in that zone. They know they're highly motivated. They want a quick fix, and they'll sell you into something guaranteeing a quick fix, knowing full well that you're probably not going to be able to sustain it. There's a lot of sacrifice involved in this one. Endless amounts of hours in the gym, saying no to going out for meals. Maybe you want to go out for a family meal, but you're on a strict diet that you can't have cake with your kids, and so there's a lot of sacrifice there. And it also takes up a lot of time as well. All right, so that's on. So I would class on, which is fine. Like that's very general in terms of what I've said there, right? But that's just to give you an idea of what I mean by the on switch. Now, the off switch, okay? Holidays, when you go away on a holiday, you're not necessarily, dialed into your eating regime or training regime. Binge eating, you're not monitoring the foods that you're taking in. You're going for quick, easy fixes. You're getting dragged into takeaway foods and things like that on your lunch breaks. You're moving less. You're just not prioritizing exercise as much as you did before, and you're finding excuses. You don't have time. You're on an overload on your calories. Snooze button. So rather than getting up and going to the gym at 6 a.m. when you're highly motivated and on it, you press snooze. You have a busy social life, alcohol. There's loads of other stuff that can go in there. It doesn't necessarily just have to be enjoyable things. Maybe family's taking over a little bit, or work's getting busy. You're getting a promotion. You're putting extra hours in. So that's what I would class as off. Okay. Health and fitness will decrease over time. I think you could agree with that. You'll lack some motivation to make the switch back on. How many times have you ever felt like that, where you've got out of a training regime and just the sheer thought of going back to the gym and surrendering and turning the switch back on and spending all that time there, you don't end up actually getting there because you don't have that motivation to do it anymore. I've just put there any more than 4 weeks plus on the off switch, and you'll start to lose any gains that you have made, perhaps you made in the on switch. Maybe you lost a lot of weight when you did a diet or you did a certain training regime, and now you put on all the weight that you lost before. You can waste a lot of money in this zone. Yeah, so that's almost like the opposite. You're not necessarily wasting your money on fitness trends and fads, but you'll be perhaps wasting your money on going out and spending things that you don't necessarily need. And I think generally you're less efficient in other areas of your life. So maybe your mental health starts to deteriorate a little bit because you're putting a little bit more stress on your body and not sleeping as well because of the lifestyle that you're leading. Okay, hope that makes sense. So on off switch. So the point I'm getting at here is a lot of people think that when they sign up for a gym membership or when they have this goal, they have to be in this on stage. They have to do all of these things in order to work towards their goals. All right. Like I said, one of the things is you will get the quickest and best results from doing these things, but at the end of the day, unless you have the time and you're willing to make the sacrifice and the goal is big enough, you're not going to be able to sustain it. So you end up going on this yo-yo effect where you're on and then you're off, and then you struggle to get back on because you lack a bit of motivation. And you put the switch back on, then you put the switch back off, and you just go through this kind of like yo-yo fad. I don't think there's anything wrong with being on, but you just need to know and be really cautious of the things that you're doing. If you're flipping from going off and on and you're increasing your training load, that's where it's easy to pick up injuries. If you go from doing nothing to doing 5 or 6 CrossFit sessions a week, that puts a lot of strain on your muscles. Maybe you don't listen to your coach. That's where you can get injuries from. Dieting, you can really mess around with your metabolism. If you might lose a lot of weight, but your metabolism drops down. And then you start eating and getting back to the foods that you were eating before, but your metabolism stays down there, so you might end up putting more weight on than you did before. Logging your food, I understand that it's not the easiest thing to do. It is a little bit time consuming. It's not always the most sociable thing to do. But if you can get into the habit of doing that, you'll actually learn a lot from that. So then when you go into this off stage, you might have a better idea. All right. There is a stage in between which I call standby. All right. So imagine you have a TV at home. You can actually either pull the plug, turn the TV on, or you can just put it on standby. So it's off. But it's there ready to go when you need it to. So I've kind of classed that as a little bit what the lifestyle reset's about and what I try to get the message across in terms of movement wins. Standby, you're hitting your exercise target. Now, the exercise targets I give you or set you in terms of health, fitness, and active, they are based on, can you hit your target on a week when you're not in this on stage? The targets that are set, you should be able to do them maybe in 2 to 3 hours. That time factor isn't a factor in terms of the week. You have a lot of hours in the week to be able to do that. You should always be able to hit your exercise target, even if that means you do 20 minutes a day, 7 days a week, because you can't find an hour to get to the gym or whatever. You can hit your exercise target. The nutrition side of it is a little bit different. Like if you're in this off mode, there is a lot of sacrifice that goes to it. So if you're like over the Christmas period now, like you're not necessarily going to be in this on mode, you have a lot of social gatherings, you want to go and enjoy yourself. You actually need that time to be off and go and enjoy yourself and do the things that you want to do. But if you can be off or almost in like a standby mode, just put there that you understand how to manage your weekly calories. So because you've been in this stage where you've been on, or you've been in the standby mode where you log your food, or you actually understand how to manage your weekly calories. So you know that if you went out on a Friday and had brunch and ate and drank a lot, that on a Saturday you could kind of make up for that by not consuming as many calories. Maybe you save some calories up in the week. Okay, so that's that standby mode. 10,000 steps, you're just very conscious about, are you moving enough? You can use your apps, your Fitbits, your Polars, whatever you've got to make sure you're doing that. You understand the idea of a cheat meal not turned into like a full sabotage and you end up having a cheat week and falling completely off the wagon. You still enjoy your social life. I've just put moderate social life there. So yeah, you'll say no to certain events, and if it's something that you really, really want to do, then you'll say yes and you'll go and enjoy yourself and not worry about, having a certain drink or only having a certain amount of drinks. Alcohol in moderation, same sort of thing. If you really want to go and do it, you'll enjoy yourself and not put these barriers on there. All right, so I put there, standby will get long-term sustainable results. I think you'll agree. It won't necessarily get you that quick fix that you might get in the on stage, but you can definitely manipulate that standby. can still work towards general health and fitness goals. So you could be in a position where you don't have a goal one day, and then the next day you feel like you want to go and sign up for a marathon, and you're already on track to kind of get there. It doesn't require a huge amount of sacrifice. Like I said, the food side of it you might find requires a little bit more sacrifice, but in terms of hitting your exercise target, then that should be easily done, and it doesn't take as much time. So I think the point that I'm trying to get across is, we track I'm happy if someone is, New Year's a good example of that, or just a new goal that comes up and someone goes all in on their goal. I'm happy with you going all in. What I'm more worried about is when you go off, or if you go to off, how bad is your off? Are you really, falling off the wagon and doing no training at all? You're not worrying about what you eat, you end up putting on weight? Or can we get you to a stage where, you're not necessarily logging your food every day, maybe you're just hitting your exercise target, you still got a busy life, but it's kind of in that standby mode that you can save it and you can maintain that and maintain your health through the rest of your life. Okay, so like I said, on, off switch. And what I like to think of it is getting you to that standby. So now that I've shown you that, I hope that makes a little bit more sense. Like I said, if you're in a state where you're in on mode, then you're sending your food logs back, you're smashing your exercise targets. You might even be doing double your exercise targets. You're competing for the top burner. You don't have to be like that 52 weeks of the year, but maybe there's a month or 2 months that you really dedicate the time to do that, and you're in on mode. And then in the other times you go back to standby mode, and you can hopefully avoid off mode. All right. Okay. Hope that helped, and I'll speak to you soon.